July 25, 2017, Yemeni police arrested Kerala native Nimisha Priya and her friend Hanan in Aden City, Yemen. The charge? The brutal murder of a broker named Talal Abdo Mehdi. The crime was so horrific that it sent shockwaves through the international media. According to the reports, Nimisha had dismembered the victim's body and hidden it in a water tank. The court there declared her convicted in the year 2018 and sentenced her to death in the year 2020. In 2023, the Supreme Judicial Council of Yemen denied Nimisha's appeal and maintained the death sentence. Despite numerous attempts to free her, she remained imprisoned in Yemen for years. As a last resort, a mercy petition was submitted. However, after 7 years of imprisonment, on December 30, 2024, President Rashid Ali Alimi rejected the plea and ordered Nimisha's execution within a month. This story takes an even stranger turn when a man named Tommy Thomas in Kerala hears the news. He was dumbfounded. Why? Because the Nimisha Priya being accused in Yemen was none other than his wife. As he tried to contact her, her phone remained switched off. Who was Talal Abdo Mehdi? And what was his connection to Nimisha Priya? And how did a nurse from Kerala with big dreams end up in a gruesome crime like this in Yemen? My name is Tanvi, and today we will dive deep into the story of a case that shocked the world, a tale of an ambitious nurse from Kerala, India, and how she ended up on death row in Yemen. This is the story of Nimisha Priya, a story of betrayal, a story of gruesome murder, and a story of many shocking events. Nimisha was born in Palakkad, Kerala, to a struggling family. Her parents were daily wage labourers, and money was always tight. But Nimisha was determined. With help from the local church, she completed her school education and a nursing diploma. In 2008, at just 19, she left her hometown for Yemen, hoping to build a better life. Nimisha started working as a nurse in a government hospital in Sana'a, Yemen's capital. Her career flourished and she was able to improve her family's financial condition. But life was about to take a sharp turn. After 3 years, in 2011, Nimisha returned to Kerala for a brief period to marry Tommy Thomas, an auto rickshaw driver from Idukki. Soon after, in 2012, the couple moved to Yemen to start a new life. Nimisha resumed her nursing career while Thomas worked as an electrician's assistant. The couple welcomed a daughter in December of 2012 in Yemen. As the family grew, so did the weight of responsibility. Expenses piled up, and Thomas, despite his best efforts, found it hard to make ends meet. So finally in 2014, Thomas made the difficult decision to return to Kerala with their 1.5-year-old daughter Mishal. Back in India, he resumed his life as an auto rickshaw driver, leaving Nimisha behind in Yemen to support the family. Here in Yemen, Nimisha was thriving professionally. Her patients remembered her not only for her skills but also for her dedicated nature and her warmth towards them. Colleagues admired her. They spoke highly of her skills and her dedication to her work. Nimisha believed in a bigger dream. She had a bigger dream. She believed in her skills and envisioned a brighter future, not only for herself but also for her family. The idea of opening her own clinic in Yemen took root. She was very confident in her skills and she knew that this venture will take her life to a better situation for her and her family. When Nimisha shared her dream of opening her own clinic in Yemen with Thomas, her husband, who was back in Kerala at the time, he was very happy and he supported her wholeheartedly, like he believed in her as well. But there was one small problem to the whole thing. Yemeni law required a business partner who was a citizen of Yemen. And as Nimisha was an Indian citizen, she couldn't open the clinic on her own. To this problem, Nimisha had a solution. She talked to Thomas and a name came to her mind. there was a man that she trusted, a broker named Talal Abdo Mehdi. Talal, a Yemeni citizen, owned a small clothing shop near the hospital where Nimisha worked. She and Thomas had visited his shop for a couple of times, and Talal's wife had delivered her baby at the same hospital where Nimisha worked. This familiarity made Nimisha feel comfortable trusting him. Nimisha discussed her plan with Thomas and suggested that Talal could help them get the license for a clinic. With his support, opening the clinic seemed like it would be very much easier. But things didn't go as Nimisha had hoped. Abdul Latif, the owner of the private clinic where she worked, learned about her plan. Furious at the thought of her starting her own clinic, he confronted her. Their arguments were heated, but eventually he offered to invest in her clinic in exchange for a 33% share. So when Abdul Latif agreed to invest in her clinic, with his agreement, Nimisha and Thomas decided to collect funds to set up her clinic. Back home in India, Thomas asked his relatives and family friends for some money and borrowed over 1 lakh rupees for her clinic to be set up in Yemen. With the money now collected, Nimisha told Talal that she did not need assistance for licensing and financial assistance to set up her clinic in Yemen. So Talal agreed to it, but she did ask his help to set up her clinic, the property and everything. As the work progressed, Talal started to feel more than an acquaintance. He started to feel like family to Nimisha and Thomas. But what looked like a supportive friendship was soon to take a dark turn. A turn that no one had imagined. In 2014, Thomas and Nimisha's dream finally became a reality. Their 14-bed clinic, Al Aman Medical Clinic, was up and running, and it was a success right from the start. Talal, their Yemeni business partner, often sent photos of the clinic to Thomas, and it was clear that they had built something amazing. The clinic was earning around $1,000 a day, a fortune for the family. In January 2015, Nimisha returned to Kerala to celebrate their daughter's birthday, and Talal joined her on the trip. It was a joyful time for Thomas, who welcomed Talal warmly into their home. From arranging accommodation to taking him sightseeing, Thomas went out of his way to make Talal feel like family. By the time Talal left India on February 9, 2015, he had become more than just a business partner. He was a trusted friend who knew every detail about their lives. But soon, life in Yemen changed drastically. In March 2015, a civil war broke out, turning the country into a battleground. While most Indians fled the chaos, Nimisha made the difficult decision to stay. She had invested everything into the clinic and couldn't abandon it now. Meanwhile, Thomas and their daughter were stuck in India, unable to visit due to a ban on new visas for Yemen. As the war raged on, Nimisha was left in Yemen with Talal, the man she trusted completely. But Talal's intentions began to shift. Seeing the clinic's success, greed crept into his heart. He started believing that he deserved an equal share of the profits. And knowing how much Nimisha relied on him, he decided to take advantage of her trust. Talal began by adding his name to the ownership documents of the clinic without Nimisha's knowledge. Not only that, he even registered vehicles for the clinic under his name. Slowly, he put himself as a 33% stakeholder in the clinic by forging his name and creating fake documents. Not stopping there, Talal also pocketed Nimisha's profits from the clinic, telling the staff that he was her husband. When Nimisha confronted him, furious with anger, he dismissed her anger and said that he was doing everything to protect her. A single woman running a clinic in a war-torn country, being the protector of the woman is what he was trying to show her. His interference grew worse. Talal began making all the clinic's management decisions, sidelining Nimisha entirely. The staff, too, believed his lies, treating him as if he were Nimisha's husband. What had started as a partnership built on trust had turned into a nightmare. Nimisha's world was spiraling out of control. This was all part of Talal's plan, a plan he had been crafting long before Nimisha could even suspect it. While staying at her home in Kerala, Talal secretly stole a photo from Thomas and Nimisha's wedding album. He altered the photo, replacing Thomas's face with his own, and used it to create a fake marriage certificate in Yemen. With this forged document, Yemeni law now recognized Nimisha as Talal's legal wife. Now see, Talal wasn't just devious. He had the support and connections with the locals there, and he was almost untouchable. Nimisha, on the other side, felt like a bird trapped in a cage. By 2016, her life had become a nightmare. What she suffered was very bad. And after that, Talal did not even hide his cruelty. He used to abuse and harass her in front of the hospital staff as well. Unable to take it anymore, Nimisha filed a complaint with the Sana police station, but the Yemeni law did not help her out. They arrested both Talal and Nimisha for disturbing the peace. And when presented in front of the court, Talal showed the fake forged marriage document to the court, and the court was not able to detect the forgery in the document, and hence Talal was now proved as Nimisha's legal husband in Yemen. Talal felt invincible now. He had the law on his side, or so he believed. Nimisha, who used to live in a rented house in Sana, was now at his mercy. Talal would show up drunk, beat her, and force himself on her. Sometimes he brought his friends along and demanded she spend the night with them. If she refused, the beatings would be even more brutal. Nimisha tried to escape this torment. On many nights, she fled her home, wandering the streets of Sana alone, risking her life and dignity. In a country where women rarely venture out after dark, she roamed aimlessly, fighting to survive another day. Talal made sure Nimisha couldn't leave Yemen. Now the house she had rented for the hospital staff to stay in, Talal moved his own wife and children in that house as well. He had control over her money, her will, her ability to leave the country, everything. He took her passports and other documents and kept it with himself. He slowly started harassing the female staff at the hospital as well, leaving Nimisha alone to fight the shame and chaos, and she was handling everything on her own in a country away from home. Talal kept all of Nimisha's money earned from the clinic, but he gave her just enough to survive. To further isolate her, he also daily broke her SIM cards, which made her buy more. Nimisha had around more than 20 plus SIM cards that she had used to try to call home. Even then, calling home was risky. Talal monitored her every move, so Nimisha had to be careful. Her calls to Thomas were brief, often lasting less than a minute. Sometimes she managed to send quick voice notes as well. But even these small conversations were laced with fear. Talal's control extended beyond her personal life. He had been in and out of jail multiple times now. Sometimes because of complaints Nimisha filed, and other times for scamming others. Once the court ordered his release on strict conditions. He had to return Nimisha's money, car and passport and apologize for his life. But the moment he was free, Talal went back to his old ways. Nimisha realized the only way to escape this hell was for her to leave the clinic and everything and return to her home in Kerala, to her husband and her daughter. But without her passport, that wasn't possible. And she requested Talal all the time to tell her where her passport was, but he refused to tell her because he wanted to trap her there. Then, very saddened by everything and desperate, she confided in a warden of a nearby jail, a man who used to visit her clinic all the time for treatments. He gave her an idea. If only Nimisha could make Talal unconscious, they could force him to tell them where her passport was hidden. But it was a difficult task. In 2017, July, an opportunity arose. Talal was addicted to drugs and he often visited Nimisha's home intoxicated. So One night he had visited her and she took that chance and injected him with a sedative. She hoped that it will render him unconscious and they could get the location of the passport, but it sadly didn't work out. The next day, Talal returned, drugged and disoriented. This time Nimisha tried again. He injected the sedative and within moments Talal collapsed. At first he screamed loudly, but then suddenly everything went silent. Terrified, Nimisha checked his pulse. Her worst fear came true. Talal was dead. What was meant to be her way out had turned into a tragedy she could have never imagined. Talal's death was not something that Nimisha had planned. She only wanted to force him to give her passport back, but unintentionally or maybe due to the high dosage of sedatives and the drugs that he had already taken, Talal ended up dead, and to her horror, her plan took a turn for the worse. This was something that she had not planned at all. Terrified and unsure of what to do, Nimisha called her friend Hanan. Hanan was a nurse who lived just downstairs in the same building that Nimisha lived in. She knew everything about Nimisha's life and had been a silent witness to the abuse Nimisha had suffered at Talal's hands. Talal's torment had pushed Nimisha to the edge, giving her frequent anxiety attacks. And now with this terrible event, she was on the verge of a panic breakdown. Hanan, seeing her friend's state of mind, knew they had to act fast. They couldn't let Talal's body be discovered. It was Hanan who took charge, cutting Talal's body into pieces, stuffing it into a sack and hiding it in a water tank. Nimisha, still under the influence of her anxiety medication, couldn't remember the details clearly. The shock and fear clouded her mind. After disposing of the pieces of Talal's body, the two women fled to Aden, another city in Yemen, but their escape wouldn't last long. Just days after, on July 25th in 2017, the Yemeni police caught both the women. The police was tipped off by a neighbor staying in Nimisha's building. The neighbors complained to the police of a foul smell coming from the water tank. Upon investigation, police discovered the horrifying scene that was the remains of Talal's body, and hence they started the investigation and caught both the women in Aden. When the news of Nimisha's arrest reached Thomas, he was stunned. How could this be true? Desperate for answers, he tried every way to contact her, but her phone remained unreachable. It wasn't just Thomas, none of Nimisha's relatives in Kerala could reach her either. Meanwhile, Nimisha and her friend Hanan were locked away in a jail in Sana'a, Yemen. Days turned into weeks and then finally Nimisha was given access to a phone. She used that brief moment to contact Thomas. Her voice while talking to Thomas was heavy with fear and frustration as she explained to him everything that had happened. The court proceedings against her were entirely unfair. She was left to defend herself without proper legal support. No lawyer, no guidance, nothing. Nimisha stood in the courtroom pleading her case alone. She explained to the judges how Talal had forged a fake marriage certificate claiming she was his wife. She urged the court to cross-check the document with her passport, which showed her real identity. She even asked them to speak to her neighbors who had witnessed how Talal tormented her every day. But none of it mattered. The trial court ignored her pleas and in 2018 convicted her. A junior lawyer was assigned to handle Nimisha's appeal, but he was inexperienced and couldn't represent her properly in front of the court. Apart from that, the entire process from the police investigation to the court documents, everything was in Arabic, a language Nimisha didn't know of. She had to sign documents. She was made to sign documents that she didn't know even what they meant. Her appeal was not even given a fair consideration and dismissed by the court, and in 2020 she was sentenced to death. Despite all odds, Nimisha fought on. With no proper legal support, she filed an appeal with Yemen's Supreme Judicial Council, but her fight dragged on for years. Finally, on December 30, 2024, her last glimmer of hope was extinguished. Yemen's President Rashad al-Alimi rejected her mercy petition and approved her execution. She was given just 1 month before the sentence would be carried out. A young nurse who had come to Yemen with dreams of a better life now faced the unimaginable. Life lost to cruel and broken system. The story takes yet another twist. The Yemen embassy, which once claimed that Nimisha's execution had been approved, is now backtracking. They say the President of Yemen has no authority over the case. Instead, the power lies with the Houthi authorities, as the region where Nimisha's trial is happening, Yemen's capital Sana'a, is under their control. This means all decisions about her fate are being made by the Houthis. And now, Nimisha has only chance to escape the death sentence, blood money. But what exactly is blood money, and who are the Houthi authorities holding this power over her life? Let's take a moment to understand the context. In Sana'a, where Sharia law is still in effect, there's a provision for cases like these. According to Sharia law, the family of the accused can avoid punishment if they pay a compensation amount to the victim's family. In this case, if Nimisha Priya pays an amount to the victim's family, Talal's family, then she can avoid the punishment, that is her execution. This payment is known as blood money. Since 2017, a businessman named Samuel Jerome Bhaskar, an NRI social activist, has been tirelessly fighting for justice for Nimisha. He formed a group called Save Nimisha Priya International Action Council, dedicated to raising money to secure her freedom. Through crowdfunding, he hoped to gather enough funds to free her. But there was a big problem. Who would negotiate with Talal Mehdi's family? Who would negotiate the fund that they had to pay to his family? To tackle this, they appointed advocate Abdullah Amir from Indian Embassy as a negotiator. His job was to speak on behalf of Nimisha and negotiate with Talal's family. However, things didn't go smoothly. Abdullah Amir demanded a hefty $40,000 as a pre-negotiation fee. The first half, $20,000, was paid, but then Abdullah halted all tasks, insisted on full amount before he would proceed. This delay added more confusion, and with so many rumors swirling about the money involved, no one knew for sure what was going on. Talal's family never made an official statement, leaving everyone in the dark. Nimisha's supporters successfully raised $40,000 through crowdfunding to settle the case. The full amount was paid by 27th December. Then came the heartbreaking decision on December 30th. Nimisha's death sentence was upheld. The very next day, India's Ministry of External Affairs spoke up. Their spokesperson, Randhir Jaiswal, tweeted that the government was aware of the case and was ready to help in any way possible. But at this point, Nimisha's fate lay in the hands of Talal Mehdi's family. Locked behind the walls of Al-Beda jail, Nimisha had no idea of the struggles unfolding outside for her freedom. Nimisha's lawyer, Subhash Chandran, stated that the negotiations could only move forward with the help of Indian government. But despite all the twists and turns, Nimisha's family hasn't given up. Thomas, her husband, remains hopeful. He believes with all his heart that his wife will be saved and that their 13-year-old daughter, who had been separated from her mother for years, will finally get to reunite with her. Nimisha's mother, Prema Kumari, has been in Yemen since 2024, trying every possible way to save her daughter's life. With court permission, she has plans to visit Nimisha in prison this April. Over the past 9 months, she has only been able to see her daughter twice. But despite the heartache, Premaji continues to fill Nimisha's heart with hope and courage, never letting her spirit waver, no matter how tough the road ahead seems. The plight of Nimisha Priya touched hearts of people across the country. Now the most important question is whether kindness will be shown to her and whether Nimisha Priya's execution will be stopped and will she be able to meet her daughter and her family and go home back to Kerala, India ever again. Thank you for staying with me and watching the video. If there are any comments or any details I might have missed, please mention them in the comments below. And please subscribe to my channel if you like the video.